The Survey Corps had done the impossible. For the first time in human history, they had reached the ocean, an endless stretch of blue far beyond the walls that had imprisoned them for generations. This was the world Armin had dreamed about ever since he opened his grandfather's book. The world Eren had spent his entire life fighting for. Every battle, every sacrifice, every life that had been lost had led to this moment, the moment they were finally free. Everyone stood there in awe, except Eren. Eren looked beyond the horizon.
ああ、向こうにいる敵全部殺せば俺たち自由になれるのか。
The ocean was supposed to be the end of the journey. Instead, it became another destination. And if you think, you wouldn't have made the same decision as Eren, but you're wrong, because it's in our nature. We see glimpses of it everywhere. For some, it's getting into their dream college. For others, it's landing the dream job, buying the dream house, starting a business, building the life they've always imagined. But after you achieve it, then what? Do you sit there satisfied on the mountain you've just climbed? Or do your eyes drift toward another mountain in the distance? Another target, another dream. You're back where you started, chasing a different destination, but the same promise. Once I get there, I'll finally be free. In 1971, psychologists Philip Brickman and Donald Campbell described a pattern they believed almost every human being experiences. They called it the hedonic treadmill, or what psychologists today more commonly refer to as hedonic adaptation. The idea was surprisingly simple. No matter how big the achievement, people eventually get used to it. The excitement fades. The extraordinary becomes ordinary. Years later, Brickman and his colleagues studied something fascinating. They compared people who had won the lottery with people who had suffered life-changing accidents. At first, their happiness levels were dramatically different, but over time, many of them gradually drifted back toward their own normal level of happiness. The point wasn't that success doesn't matter, or that tragedy doesn't hurt. It was something much stranger. Human beings are remarkably good at adapting. The dream phone becomes your phone. The dream salary becomes your salary. The dream life simply becomes life. And the moment it becomes normal, your mind quietly begins searching for another horizon. Not because you're ungrateful, not because you're greedy, because that's what the human mind does. It adapts. And when it adapts, freedom begins to feel just one step away all over again. Now imagine a mind that naturally gets used to everything and place it inside the modern world. For most of human history, wanting more helped us survive. More food, more shelter, more security, more chances of living another day. But today, that same instinct has become an economy. Every year, there's a newer phone. Not because last year's technology suddenly stopped working, but because there's always something shinier from distance. Advertising understood this long before we did. It doesn't just sell products, it sells possibilities. Buy this, become this, because if freedom always feels one purchase away, you'll always have a reason to keep chasing it. Social media quietly does the same thing. Before the internet, you compared your life with the people around you. Now you compare it with millions. Someone is always more successful, and without realizing it, your definition of enough changes. The world didn't create this part of human nature. It simply became very, very good at giving it another horizon. Eren doesn't seem so different. He wasn't chasing the ocean. He was chasing what he believed the destination would give him, freedom. But when he finally reached it, his mind did what our minds have always done. It looked beyond it, beyond the next horizon, towards one final obstacle. If we kill all our enemies over there, will we finally be free? Maybe Eren wasn't blinded by hatred. One might argue that Eren is just a fictional character, but the truth is that Eren's story didn't begin with Eren. It began long before his character was ever thought of, more than 2,000 years ago, with another young man who also believed there was always another horizon. His name was Alexander, like Eren. He refused to stop where everyone else did. One kingdom wasn't enough. Then another wasn't enough. Every victory convinced him that one more conquest would finally complete the journey. Every horizon revealed another horizon. Alexander the Great, the man who conquered almost the entire known world before the age of 30. By every measure, he was a man who could have anything. And then he met someone unlike him, a man who wanted nothing, no ambition to conquer the world. He wasn't chasing power. He wasn't chasing happiness. He wasn't even chasing freedom. He simply was. His name was Diogenes. By now, Alexander wasn't just a king. He cementing his position in the history books. Every city he entered welcomed him. Almost everyone came, congratulate him, except one man, Diogenes. Alexander had heard stories about him, a philosopher who lived in poverty by choice, who mocked wealth, status, even kings. Surely a man like that would want to meet the most powerful person in Greece. But Diogenes never came. So Alexander did something no one expected. He went to meet Diogenes himself. Alexander found him exactly where people said he would be, completely at peace. "Is there anything I can do for you?" Diogenes looked up and said, "Yes. Stand a little out of my sunlight." Alexander's companions laughed. This guy must be loose in the head. But Diogenes actually believed something very simple. Freedom wasn't waiting somewhere else. Someone who's slave to their own desires would have never let the opportunity go to waste, because desire means you lack something. But Diogenes didn't lack anything according to him. He was born with everything that he needs to live a life on this planet. It's interesting. Eren says almost the same thing. We're born free, all of us. So how did someone who believed that end up spending his entire life chasing freedom? Maybe because somewhere along the way, Eren became convinced that his freedom had been taken from him. And once you believe freedom has been taken, you'll spend the rest of your life trying to take it back. That's where Eren begins to resemble Alexander, always looking toward one more horizon. Diogenes never accepted that bargain. He believed nobody could take away what was already his unless he gave it away himself. Alexander spent his life trying to own the world. Diogenes spent his life making sure the world owned nothing of him. So what was Diogenes actually trying to teach? Was he saying that success is meaningless? That we should all leave our homes and live in a barrel? No, his life wasn't a set of rules, it was a question. What do you actually need to be free? Somewhere along the way, we started believing that freedom or happiness had to be earned, that first we must become successful, then respected, then wealthy, then one day, we'll finally allow ourselves to live. Diogenes challenged that entire idea. He believed freedom wasn't something waiting at the end of achievement. It was something we slowly exchanged for things we convinced ourselves we couldn't live without. Maybe that's why Alexander looked at Diogenes and saw something he could never conquer. Not a philosopher, but a man who was already free, a man who had nothing, yet lacked nothing. And perhaps that's why history remembers Alexander's final words about him. "If I were not Alexander, I would wish to be Diogenes."